we're here today just to really strip it back down to the basics of HR compliance, and it's something that's still a really big issue with a lot of businesses. And it seems like it's obvious things to us and maybe most of you, but it's just not obvious to a lot of other people as key decision makers, or if you're a manager that is the key person looking after the HR operations or even just heavily involved. There's a lot of really basic stuff that is big impact and easy to tick off.
Yeah.
So we can probably start with that and then get into the nitty gritty of some other topics.
Yeah.
But they're our objectives for today. Is there anything else you wanted to add to that?
I think that's great. And we'd love to hear your questions. We've got some backup stuff if people don't ask us questions.
Yeah.
But we would much prefer to hear people's questions.
And Paul will put some chat prompts into the chat box today. So we're going to ask questions throughout and then we'll get back to the responses and just do it similar to last time. Just talk through people's questions and our advice, and again, keeping it really generic and simple.
Yep. Sounds good.
Cool. So that first chat prompt that he has put through, if you haven't opened, tell us the number one thing you want to learn from today. So HR basic compliance has a lot of topics and a lot of things that we can get into, but have a think about what is the one thing you want to take away from this session, and we'll get back to those responses from there.
Yeah.
Did you want to start off with some basic?
Yeah. So if we were to ask ourselves, like it's good to ask you what your challenges are. If we were to ask ourselves what are the most obvious things that we see, I think we're doing HR audits.
Mm-hmm.
We're going into a client with no real background. Sometimes we're going in there just going, okay, let's look at everything. We turn over the rocks, don't we? We uncover stuff, and we often find stuff that's so easy. We look at it and we go, it's so easy to fix.
Why are you still not doing this?
Why?
Yeah.
And some of the really simple, obvious stuff, and I'll throw some stuff out there, but feel free to chime in, Celine. Probably the simplest thing that gets overlooked would be having a position description.
Mm-hmm.
And we work with a few like creative marketing agents, and we're too cool to have a position description because everyone's like just does their thing, how they're vibing and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have to be a perfect position description, but something that defines what someone does.
Yeah.
Written down, because then that is almost a basis to then do award interpretation. Where do they fit within the award structure?
What are their minimum entitlements? Are they entitled to any allowances under the award? Better off overall tests. Are you paying them correctly? But that is the main gap that we see in a lot of businesses, is not having clear position descriptions, or not even just really understanding what each role actually entails down to the basic stuff. Yeah. It's just everyone just jumps in and just supports each other with everything. Okay, cool, that's great.
Yeah.
But how are you able to actually identify what their minimum entitlements look like? Because you have no idea what award interpretation may be, which is okay, or how they might be classified, or what that process even looks like as well. Yeah.
And think about it, there's 121 modern awards in Australia, and I hope Fair Work's not listening because I'm not going to say positive things, but they were written in the 50s, and they talk about fax machines, typewriters.
Yeah, they really
like that.
do.
So it's award interpretation. So we go, what award is most likely, given this is the criteria, what most likely applies in this situation? And then that defines their pay rates, their allowances.
Yeah.
It's so critical to get it right. But again, not having a position description, you're just guessing.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's also quirky about things like knowing their qualifications.
And what are the minimum requirements for that interpretation under the classifications of the award? And some of them are really technical. It's all technical stuff at the end of the day, but some of them are quite simple to follow. Yeah. And it's pretty logical in terms of the different levels and minimum entitlements.
Yeah.
But then depending on the industry and the role and what type of qualification someone might have, it really does get really, really complex, which is where we jump in and help out with all that sort of stuff. Yeah.
And you're doing heaps of audits at the moment.
Love the audits. Don't be Jade.
Love an audit.
Yeah.
It's a HR nerd thing.
It is.
I actually get excited to dig in.
It's nice to just step away from, not that I don't like dealing with people, obviously I do, which is why I do what I do. But it's nice to just jump into the technical stuff and just have this mind map in front of you and go, okay, I need to make sense of this. Like, what is going to be the easiest and simplified way to get to the bottom of the core of
Yeah.
supporting the business through this whole process, because it's just a minefield.
Yeah. So if I was to throw that question at you in terms of the most obvious dumb stuff that you see, you walk into a client and they're like, oh, this would be so easy if they've done this or these things, they would save money, they'd alleviate a whole lot of risk. It'd be clearer. What's some of the most obvious?
Oh, definitely the Fair Work information statements.
Yeah.
That is the most obvious and most common thing across every single business, if not most, that we've supported. And it's something as simple as a document that confirms minimum entitlements for permanent casuals or fixed term arrangements that just needs to be sent to all staff, and then you're just saving that correspondence to file. And that could save the business, what's the fine? 100 grand or something stupid?
$100,000 for not providing a document.
Per employee that you have within the business. So if you've got a big business with so many employees, like those fines are extortionate.
Yeah.
And it's something just so simple. But I think a lot of people refrain from doing it, maybe because they don't know that it exists, but because it does highlight minimum entitlements. And then again, they've got no idea what those basics look like. So if they're highlighting minimum entitlements and they've got no idea about award interpretation for roles or anything, it's contradicting what they may be offering for people. So that's a basic one. And then another easy to tick off would be employee filing. So ensuring that you've got that set up. So old school way might be hard copies in a filing cabinet, which we've seen in businesses before and they're not great. Or then there's, obviously electronic filing systems and making sure that you're just saving all employment documents for each of your employees and anything that comes in between. And that's also, something that's could cost the business a lot. I don't know what the exact amount is off the top of my head, but it is one of those minimum legal requirements as an employer to save all those documents and correspondence for their employment, and even former employees back to 7 years or whatever it is. So,
Which is why we built our HR health check. We've basically evolved from an Excel spreadsheet and just from our consulting work. And we just went, when we're going to a client, these are all the obvious things that you need. It's not everything. It can't be a complete audit.
Yeah.
But it's an awareness raiser of these things that we're talking about. And towards the end, we'll show you the latest version of the health check. And it's really cool. From where it was before, where it was pretty much a crappy Excel document, it's now this automated tool that it's all
free.
visual, it's free.
Anyone
you can
download
you can download basically a little HR strategy out of it. It's amazing what it does. It provides so much value. Have we got any questions coming in?
Let me have a look. Sorry. More are popping in. Here we go. So Tuan has popped in, to what extent do Australian HR compliance rules apply to foreign staff? I've seen Fair Work ruling on foreign staff and whether that is something that can be avoided. Do you want to talk to that one?
Yeah, I think that's a pretty curly one, mate. Happy to have a chat to you. We really cover, the Fair Work Act is a unique beast. It's unique to Australia. It used to be, back in the day, there used to be Victorian legislation specifically, and then it was handed across federally. And we really navigate through the Fair Work Act, and we're pretty nerdy with the Fair Work Act. And then when you start talking about another country's employment obligations and the intersection of them doing work remotely,
it's very complex.
There's a whole lot of moving parts in that.
Yeah.
We would have to ask probably 10 follow-up questions to really understand that. And I'm happy, Celine and I are happy. We're actually going to stick back at the end of this lunch and learn to then hone in on any other questions. But that's probably one we'd have to take on notice and have a chat and talk to. What else have we got?
So Hangatu has popped in. I'd love to know how we can give employees flexible working arrangements, but ensure that they are staying with the confines of their award, i.e. not working late into the night.
Yeah. Do you want to go now?
Yeah, really good question. So flexible work arrangements can dip into a few different areas. It can be hybrid arrangements, i.e. working in the office, like the location, office versus working from home. But it can also be flexible times to support their commitments outside of work. So, for example, if they've got kids and they need to do school drop-off or pick-up or whatever that might look like. So a flexible working arrangement or an agreement could be an adjustment of hours. How that reflects minimum award entitlements is we would need to look into, what award are they covered by, what classification, what are the ordinary working hours within the award, because the ordinary working hours are the minimum hourly rate of whatever their classification might be. And any hours that are completed outside of those ordinary hours incurs overtime rates and penalties and things like that. So another layer to that is you may not have someone that's being paid at the minimum award rate. They could be above. So that's where a boot test becomes really, really handy to identify, okay, what is the gap between their hourly rate versus minimum? And if they were to work, I don't know, an hour or two outside of ordinary hours 1 or 2 days a week, what does that look like within a pay period, but then also yearly for minimum entitlements versus actual and that boot in between? Are they covered? So, there's a lot of layers to that, Hangadi.
And again, because there's a follow-up question because we then say, okay, which award? And it depends on the specific
award.
clauses within the award. But as a general, if we look at it at a very general sense, it's going back to basics and thinking, what does the business need as well? So the business has operational requirements. So the business might operate between these hours. I'm trying to think of ridiculous examples where somebody works in retail and it's all customer-facing retail, and they go, I want to work from home. Yeah, well, you can't do that.
Yeah,
it doesn't
exactly.
work.
It's different, yeah.
So there is a right for people to request flexibility, but there is an operational requirements for the business to go, does this practically work for us? And a really good way to start the ball rolling is to get the person who's requesting it just to send an email. What do you want?
What exactly is it that you
ideally,
need?
What are you looking for? And then let's think about that, because then we've got it clear in writing, because often it's practicality, right? What days, what hours and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, and the awards they've normally got clauses that confirm how we can support flexible working arrangements in terms of anything outside ordinary hours or something that's a bit left field. The award will give us a really good indication of how flexible we can be with the request and supporting that operationally. But then again, it's coming, like you said, it's coming back down to the role. What are the minimum requirements in terms of where they can perform their duties and what their duties look like and how we can flexibly support that with whatever they're requesting.
And the business, the organisation can say no.
Exactly.
But then they're requesting it, we consider it. Does it fit within the operational requirements? Do we understand and we want to be empathetic to their personal life situation of why they're requesting it? But then the organisation can stand back and say, look, actually no, and this is why.
Yep.
But then the person then has rights under Fair Work to say, well, I don't agree with that. And then they can there's avenues for them to challenge that, but then it's being able to justify the why.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't that work?
Yeah, exactly.
What are the operational reasons of why? I hope that helps. Like there's a few moving
thumbs up for it.
There's a few follow-up questions around, which award, what are they asking for? But I think getting it in writing from them, because it makes them really think about what they actually want.
Yeah.
And then considering it and then getting back to them and saying, yep, that'll work, or no, it won't work, and this is why it won't work.
Exactly.
But then be able to justify it if they challenged it at Fair Work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, but really good question. And we've got a couple more. So this is fun. Let's just keep going through. So Jasmine, I struggle to keep up with all of the state and federal changes we need to make, policies, entitlements, etc. We operate across 5 states. What resources or sites would you recommend that I sign up to best stay across these changes? Do you want to?
Yeah, I would say come to the Lunch and Learns. I think that's a good starting point because we're going to give you we're going to do this on a regular basis. There's a whole lot of stuff there's a couple of what's the most effective way. There's some really good stuff that the Fair Work Ombudsman put out. You can subscribe to those. They can be a bit blunt in terms of your industry. But there's also the Melbourne HR network that we support and we partner with. It's probably more for the HR professional than like someone who's doing a HR role, but very open for people to come along to that. Reach out to Celine and I. We're always digging into this stuff and updating, because a lot of stuff can be quite generic. You go, well, there's a change in the Fair Work requirements around the Nurses Award. Well,
whatever it is, yeah.
Like, that doesn't relate. It's knowing what the business is, what the specifics are, and then which levers to be aware of. And that's where it goes back to, like, it sounds like it almost sounds boring saying it, but having a position description is a starting point, because then you go, okay, we know the award, we know which parts of the award may change, and then we just stay updated around that.
Around the award.
Depending on our industry. So if we're a tradie or we're an accountant or in marketing, everyone's covered by all these different awards. And the really puzzling thing is, you could have a business, and a manufacturing business is a good example. You could have a salesperson covered by the Commercial Sales Award. You could have a admin person covered under the Clerks Private Sector Award. Then you could have a manufacturing person covered by the Manufacturing Award.
Yeah.
With three people in a business, all covered by 3 different awards.
Exactly.
And then you've got to be across 3 different industries. So it's really plugging into that awareness around
and just keeping up to date with it. And Fair Work, they keep their notifications broad for a reason, because obviously one's supporting evidence of how to make some changes within your business is not going to be a one-size-fits-all approach for everybody else. So they keep it generic for a reason, which is where we can dig into all that intricate detail and then let anybody know how it may apply to their business and what changes to be aware of. But Fair Work is probably the main one. I'm just trying to think if there's any others that we...
And we're going to do more of that. It's probably something we've done more at an individual client relationship stuff, but we're going to be doing more of that sort of content support as well, because we've got it all there. It's getting it out of our head and getting it all.
Exactly.
Is probably the next thing. Any other questions coming in?
No, I don't think so. That was the last one.
That leads really well into the topic around the big supermarkets. We won't name, but people across the media stuff around the big supermarkets.
I've just seen a few smiles, so I think so, yeah.
That's a really interesting one. That came up at the HR network meeting during the week, and HR people are puzzled by that because it hasn't been finalised. It's more there's concerns around it. And if you think the big supermarkets can get themselves in hot water, what about a business, like they've got teams of departments of HR people.
Thousands of people.
Digging into this stuff. And the biggest change really is around thinking about, so there's the Better Off Overall test, so the boot test, and Fair Work have had that for years. There's nothing new about that. So a Better Off Overall test is basically saying someone's getting paid this amount over a year, and say they're on $80,000 a year, as an example. Their award minimum, we do all the nerdy HR stuff, and we go, the minimum under the award, if you absolutely pay them just the bare bones of the award, would be 60.
Yeah.
So there's a $20,000 buffer in that. So are they better off overall? So, for example, if they miss one thing in an award, but they're better off overall because they get all these other things. And there's a mechanism called a set-off clause, which still can, depending on how all these cases go, but basically says over the year, you're covered broadly. And this is broadly.
But what this case is now starting to unravel is, and again, no legislation has changed yet. There's a lot of investigation that's still happening, but their recommendations now are for businesses to look into the Better Off Overall test per pay period versus yearly, and having adequate records of if someone were to work outside of their contracted hours, any overtime, what does that look like? So ensuring that you've got records in place confirming what those hours look like and what they're actually performing and doing, or what time they might be working other than actually working more hours. And then ensuring that within each pay period, they are still better off overall versus a yearly perspective. But again, there's no changes in legislation to that. It's just what they're investigating, because from what it seems, the supermarkets didn't have records that supported, allegedly, didn't have records that supported all of this evidence. So now it's coming to fruition that maybe it will be a legal requirement to have those records ready to provide, yes, I know that I'm covering this person because each pay period they are better off overall. But again, it's up in the air at the moment. There's a lot of wishy-washy stuff still happening.
The key thing again is going back to basics. We know which award they're covered under.
Yeah.
We know what the minimum entitlements are, and we're paying them either matching those minimum entitlements or we're paying them above. And as soon as you're paying them above, you're mitigating risk, because there's less risk of then an underpayment.
Yeah.
But then having things like set-off clauses within contracts is another level of protection. But it's an ongoing self-education. It's not something like we love to educate clients. It probably makes us, we don't want to be just like, just do this and then just come back. We want to actually teach you how to fish with this stuff as well.
But we're learning in this space too, to be honest.
We never stop learning.
No, because whenever these cases come about and there's investigations, that's when legislation changes, and then there's more knowledge for us to get across and then support businesses through that as well. So it's always just an ongoing repetition of new knowledge and something new that we have to do to apply to practice every single day. Yeah,
you never stop. And we've got some pretty HR nerd types in the team who are actually passionate about this stuff.
Jade being one of them. I'm throwing you under the bus again.
Which is great. And I'm glad that people are, because it means that we can give clients that confidence to go and not be based around fear, because it's the uncertainty and it's pretty spooky. Like, you think the repercussions for a business to get it wrong these days are it's almost like the assumption is, we didn't just muck it up. We made an error. The assumption is, as a director of a business, you're a wage thief. You're stealing money off your employees. And that is a really squirrely mindset that the compliance folk are looking at.
But I see it in a different way. I mean, obviously that can be true for businesses that are just so naive and not digging into this sort of stuff. But if you're really proactive and you know that this is something that you need to consistently review and keep up to date, then I think that's a huge step forward. And no one's perfect, at any of this stuff in the industry at all, because there's always something new that you have to work towards, or something's always never going to be perfect because there's a new legislation or a new area that we need to dig into that wasn't applied before.
You're making reasonable efforts. You can say,
need to just be proactive.
So some of the things, like a really practical thing would be, like when we're doing an audit, we put it in. So we've got the health check, which is a nice, more of a marketing awareness tool. But our audit spreadsheet has got like 40 tabs. It just hones in on all these specific areas. And we do it in a way where list everything out. Green's good, amber's not so good, and red's bad. And you just need to
keep it really simple.
It's a compliance thing. It needs to be fixed straight away. But then progressively working towards having the whole thing green. And even when it's green, we still challenge it because things change.
Yeah, exactly.
It should almost be always amber.
Yeah.
Because stuff's changing all the time.
Yeah.
But it's an education thing, and it's things like back payments are pretty scary. So think of a back payment as a ticking time bomb that someone could come and challenge a business and say, "Oh, look, you've actually classified me under the wrong award, and then you've applied the wrong pay rate. And if people are paying close to the pay rates, then they can then request a back payment for that time, and that can add up. And then you look at it across a team of people, and then you look at some of the big corporate employers out there, and they're struggling with this. It's something it's part of being in a senior role. It's not just delegating it out. It's going, I've got to understand it.
Yeah.
What is it? Where does it fit? Because it does have its logic. Even though the awards were created in the 50s, they have evolved. But there is a methodology and a logic to it. Once you understand the logic and go, that makes sense now.
Yeah.
But if you pick up an award, like if you got on Googled Fair Work and just said the 121 awards and go, which one am I and which one does this role fit? It's just overwhelming, and people just
It is.
they put their hands up and just go, I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
But that's where we come and go, okay, it's methodical. We've got to go start here, work our way through.
Yeah. Just keeps coming back to the position description.
Getting the basics right.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Um,
Have we got any other questions?
Did you want to pop in another chat prompt, Paul? Does that work? And then we can go into another topic.
Because we can go into the HR health check as well. I do want to talk about employment contracts, because employment contracts are often a topic that comes up within a business. And go back to basics. Why even have why have an employment contract at all? And what is it? What's the point? If you just ignore it and just say, I'm going to run my business, I'm just going to not have employment contracts.
Yeah.
Right?
Keep in mind that employment contracts can be verbal and written, but you're better off having them as written. Yeah.
They are. Verbal contracts, even communicating to someone, is a contract.
Yeah.
People don't realise.
Which is scary, to be honest.
Yeah, they've verbalised, they've created a contract through that verbalisation. Why have a contract? Think about the relationship between the business and the employee, and putting everything on the table so everything's clear. We know what it is. We know what's been verbally agreed to, and the employee knows, okay, this is how much I'm getting paid. These are all my entitlements. And once they're set, and often they're set for each role, you've then got a template that you can evolve and update.
Yep.
And what we find if we go into a business and there's no employment contracts, we find that payroll are confused, because you got to think payroll should only change something when they look at either a variation.
Yeah, variation to the contract.
To the contract.
Yeah.
Or they've got a new contract as a new employee. They shouldn't be going in there fiddling with stuff.
It's hard to confirm someone's minimum entitlements that they either have, or if they're better off overall, what are they actually being paid? It's not just about the hourly rate or the remuneration, but what are their benefits? What does their employment look like? And then, when we're doing auditing and there's no employment contracts, it's like, well, how do we even do a boot test? How do we even look into the awards?
Yeah.
Where did all this interpretation come from? And we've come into businesses where hourly rates are just random numbers at the end of the day. So it's really just having everything written down, even just down to minimum obligations from a behavioural perspective for employees. What are their obligations as an employee? It's not just about the entitlements at the end of the day and what they're paid. So there was a clause that I spoke about recently on LinkedIn regarding pre-existing conditions. That is another area that continuously comes up with clients and businesses, where they just have no idea about those minimum requirements regarding declaration of any pre-existing conditions that an employee may have before they start their employment. And it really is...
So you talk about medical conditions?
It could be an illness or an injury. So, someone's applying for a role, that's great. What does the role look like in terms of the minimum requirements and the responsibilities? And there should be a clause within the contract to confirm, is there any pre-existing conditions that you have that may be exacerbated due to this position description?
Yeah.
It's not asking them to pry into personal circumstances. We don't want that. No. It's just anything that can contradict with their responsibilities. For example, they might be applying for a very physical role within a warehouse, but they've had a pre-existing injury within their back. That was maybe 5 or 10 years ago. They may have recovered from it, great. But there's a risk of flare-ups, or if they do something so physical at work that maybe something should be or may be modified from medical advice, we need to know that, because then if something's exacerbated at work, that's a workplace injury. And then that opens up a whole other can of worms as well. So, and it is the employee's responsibility to declare that, but they're not going to know unless it's in an employment contract.
Yeah. So think of an example around that. I'm just thinking, without going to a specific client, but an example. So an employee starts working, and they may have a netball injury. Let's call it, like they've got an injury and they start working in a warehouse, as an example. But they've had that injury for 5 years. Right? They've come into the business. They haven't been asked to disclose that injury, and then all of a sudden that injury gets worse. They're doing a repetitive role, and there's risks of that then becoming a work cover claim. And then how do you differentiate that injury versus
that was already existing
existed versus what they acquired within their work. And that clause is trying to get people to go, okay, well, I'm coming in, I'm disclosing what I've got, and a lot of employers will do a pre-medical before people start, particularly with physical roles.
Yeah, it depends on the business and the role. Yeah.
And then go in and go, yep, we're going to get you to do a physical, and we're not just taking their word for it. We're actually going to get a doctor to check them over and see if they've got
Here's your
any
PD. Yeah, should anything be modified?
PD.
Yeah.
Because again, the doctor will look at it. If you talk to a doctor will say, oh yeah, you'll be fine.
Yeah.
Then they go, well, what are you going to do? Am I going to be sitting in an office? Well, that changes to, I'm going to be lifting 20 kilo things all day, every day. So, but the position description would define that.
Yeah, exactly.
And then the doctor can look at it and go, yep, you're fit. I've checked you over. You're fit to do this role. Happy days.
Yeah.
But it's a great clause to put into a contract, particularly with people doing physical work. I'd put it in there anyway, because you never know.
Absolutely.
People working in an office.
I was going to say, even if you're sitting at a desk and you don't have an ergonomic setup, you need to declare that, because, neck injuries, head and neck flexion, lower back. Yeah. I feel like it doesn't matter what you're doing in terms of your role and where you're sitting or standing or what labour you do. Yeah. It just needs to be declared, so that it's really from a health and safety perspective from the employer. How can we protect you as best as possible to ensure that your injury doesn't flare up, or if there's anything we need to know, what can we do to support you? Yeah. That's probably a key thing with employment contracts. Yeah.
So the best takeaway out of that would be to have an employment contract. Something's better than nothing. So there's something in writing. We've got templates that we use, we evolve, we improve them as we go, and we pick up all the learnings that we have and make them better. But definitely have something in writing, and then have a really evolved employment contract. The gold standard would be an employment contract that has a relationship to the award that they're employed under, and it's basically clarifying all of that up front. So if there was ever a Fair Work audit, basically what they're going to do is open the contract. Is this right? So check the assumption, is everything right in here? But then they're going to look at, is that person getting paid in alignment to it? Yeah. But there's also the intersection with payroll, and it's probably one thing to add around employment contracts. Like, payroll should only do things that they're authorised to do. So either the CEO or the director or the HR person's gone, okay, this change needs to happen. And then the payroll person should only change the payroll when they've got something in writing, whether it's an email or whatever, where they're being requested. And that's where there's been issues with people in payroll doing some unethical things as well.
Well, they're not trained to know anything regarding HR. It's two different umbrellas. It's just like how we don't touch anything regarding payroll. Yeah. It's the same thing.
It's a different skill set.
Stay in your lane.
Stay in your lane, and and accountants can do that as well.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's kind of knowing that HR is its own thing, and it shouldn't be a mystery, but parts of it are quite complex. But then the payroll person's going, because they don't have to stress. They go, I've got this employment contract that's been, because employment contracts might sit on a file for 5 to 10 years. And you pull it out, you do an audit, and you're basically blowing the dust off it. Yeah. And then you're going, okay, you're then looking at the history of, they may have got a pay rise, but there's a variation to that contract. There's a variation, but that variation's gone to payroll.
Yeah,
If
that's another thing with gaps with employment contracts is having the contract, but then this person may have received so many pay rises, but there's nothing to prove that. Yeah, so it's like this big jump of, I don't know, 10 or 20K in their salary over a 5-year period, hypothetically. But there's no variation. So that's another main gap in what we see in auditing is having contract variation letters to support. Okay, your role title has changed, your working hours have changed, you've moved from permanent to casual, vice versa, whatever that might be, just documentation to support that. Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
And probably some like really practical things would be to go away, again, look at your employment contracts, just say, do I have an employment contract for my people? Is it the best it can be? Does it have a relationship to the award? Is payroll paying people in line? So if you opened payroll and then opened the employment contract next to it,
is it accurate?
are they saying the same thing?
Yeah.
Because we've had that, haven't we? They can be two different things. Seems obvious, but really simple stuff to get right. And then start building the awareness around all of the award requirements, and then going back and then evolving that. And you think about what we've done as a team of consultants. We've built a HR system because we don't like doing repetitive, mundane, boring HR transactional things.
Yep.
And we've automated a whole lot of functionality around all of that with our Fair Work statements, our policies, our performance reviews, all that admin stuff. We're building our way out of that using technology, leveraging technology to get that to do the work.
Exactly.
So that you don't have to do all that transactional repetitive stuff.
Just streamlining everything.
To streamline everything as best as it can be.
Yeah.
And I think that's...
Which is never going to be perfect because there's always updates.
It is. It's an evolving thing, but
Yeah.
it's a great challenge to solve, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Did we have a question that came up? Amazing. So we advise our team of new pay rates in the review. Is this adequate or do we need to follow up with a letter?
That's a good question.
Good question. If we're talking about award minimum rate increase, I mean, to be honest, regardless, it needs to be in writing to say, yes, they have received a pay increase. The easiest way is always just to do it with a contract variation letter. But if it's something as simple as a award minimum rate increase that happens at the moment yearly, it can just be an email and then the correspondence is saved to the person's file. But if it's a salary jump in regards to performance reviews or additional responsibility, something that's a bit more intricate in detail, I would say a contract variation letter to confirm the details. But yes, absolutely, it would need to be in writing and then just saved to that person's file because, again, you're just supporting having that evidence of increase of rates for whatever reason it might be.
Yeah, I think an email's fine these days as well, like because the email can be printed off in payroll. Depends on what systems they've got in place. But an email saying something like, I would just want to confirm your change in remuneration. You've gone from this amount, which is detailed in your employment contract dated this date, and it's now increasing to this rate, effective from this date.
Yeah.
And it's always the effective date because the person in payroll will scratch their head. Say, okay, you've given them a pay increase, but when is it from? And the simplest one to do, and I do this with my team, effective from the next pay period.
Yeah.
So it just clicks in because you might say, I'm going to do it the first of the month, which might sound really logical.
Just be specific, yeah.
But then the payroll person will go, okay, now I've got to prorata that across 4 days. Just do pay rise as per the next pay period, and then it's documented. If someone looks at it down the track and queries the payroll person, they go, okay, it's like the best analogy, I love my analogies.
You love them.
But the best one is like an archaeologist. So you think you're digging through the file and you go all the way back to right to the beginning and you see their CV. And then you go, oh, that's their original employment contract. And you can see by going through their file if it's done well, and I'm doing this physically because my brain is looking at physical, but electronically it's the same thing because you're looking at when they started, And then what's changed? What's changed? And we're being really clear with them as we go. And everything's in writing. And someone can't come back and go, yeah, but I missed out on that, or I didn't get that payment. You go, well, you did. We got it in writing.
The dates are there.
Everything's reflected. There's no, it's not conversational because people forget what's written down, what's agreed to.
Yeah.
And then communicating, and some of the other stuff that probably, because when you think about HR, like I was thinking about this the other day, we call ourselves your HR team. Your HR is people, culture, values, all of that stuff as well.
There's a lot of
We tried to find the simplest thing is HR, but it also covers culture and the way people are treated and the whole thing. But you think from a cultural point of view, how to celebrate that person's achievement or whatever. There's ways of communicating that. If you just send them an email without talking to them, you could say, oh, you've done an amazing job. I can see what you've done over the last 12 months. And it's generally a one-on-one with the reporting manager or whoever they report to.
Yeah.
And going, look, you've done an amazing job. Really appreciate, and you've got gratitude, appreciation, thankfulness, and going, and then here's the new rate. We're going to make it effective from that.
It's building that connection. It's not just sending an email.
People do that though, don't they?
Yeah. It's not human to human value at the end of the day.
It's like such a simple human interaction, and we've got to be careful we don't automate the wrong things out of it.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? Like we're trying to automate to create more human connection and communication as a priority. And then all the automation happens to support that.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not in lieu of that.
Yeah, exactly. It's just making admin easier.
Yeah. For sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Was there any other questions that came through? Awesome. Oh, good. Thank you for that, Gabby. That's awesome.
We've still got a bit of what I'd love to do, Paul, are you able to share the HR health check? I'd love to talk this through because this is a really cool piece of technology, and we can thank Danny. Like Danny's not on the call, but if he's listening to this, thank you, Danny, for all your work in this. Because again, this used to be an Excel spreadsheet. It's now turned into this really, really cool tool, and we will send you the link to this. It's completely free. Everything we're talking about is free to use whenever you want.
Online through the website.
The whole thing. So if you scroll down a bit, Paul, you'll see here that the way we've broken it down into green is good, and if it's amber, it's sort of ambery red, it means it's a gap. But you're doing that self-identification where it's raising awareness. Okay, in this topic, is it green? I've got it covered. Great.
Yeah.
But then if you go to the next part of it, so if you keep scrolling down, you'll see it's broken into different categories. And we've worked with the Melbourne HR Network to evolve these questions, and they would love it to be 100 questions. We're like, no, how do we make it a 15-minute awareness raising tool? We put a disclaimer saying this is not a full comprehensive HR audit, but it's raising awareness, the most obvious stuff that we see.
What do you have in place that's set up that may need some awareness, may need some revision? And it breaks up between best practice and compliance as well. So it gives you an overall score once you've completed it. What are the gaps of the areas of compliance where you may have ticked no, this is something I need to work on, versus yes, I've got this under control, or I feel as though I've got this under control, I'm confident in this area. And then same for the best practice as well. Yeah.
And there are options to reach out. We've got our Calendarly links to that. You can reach out to us and book a meeting if you get stuck. Paul, if you click on the download tab, please. Well, it does its thing. What we've done is evolve it to go from being a health check, because you think a health check is like a diagnostic tool, like going to the doctor and getting a blood test or whatever. It's giving you data. What we've done is created it's basically a little HR strategy. So you think what you can do is basically download this document. It's pulled out. Danny's built it in a way. It's basically pulled out all of the gaps and plugged them in, and then giving you suggestions on what the next step is. But then the why. Like, why is that important? I know within our roles in HR, we go, often we're recommunicating communicating the why.
The validation
Why
of it.
why
Yeah.
why are we doing this?
Yeah.
Why? So the why's in there. And then you can then basically save as, tweak it. You can add columns. It's completely configurable, that Excel spreadsheet. There's probably, I don't know what the numbers are, but there's a lot of value from a consulting point of view. We're basically giving away to support clients and get people aware of this stuff.
And this is really good first steps for us to have a really good indication of what the business is looking like from a HR perspective before we dig into an audit discovery process. So prior to having this process on board, I mean, audit discoveries are obviously very effective and always will be, but this is giving us a really good indication of first steps to go, okay, how do you believe all these foundations are working and what do we need to, maybe there's some gaps that are already highlighted with these results to go, okay, maybe this is an area that we really need to tick into first. Or it's giving us a highlighted opportunity to go, okay, this is bringing our awareness to this area. Let's dig into it even further with the audit discovery. So yeah, it's great. It's really easy to use and doesn't take long at all. So it's something that you can certainly share with people that you know. And you don't have to reach out to us. It's an online tool that can be used, and you've got an option of either reaching out to us or whether you just want to take those results and utilise it yourself. There's no obligation to reach out to us after that. And we certainly don't go, we're not one of those marketing people that just goes and bugging. We don't bug people after that. If you don't want to be reached out, that's fine.
No.
Yeah.
We've kept it really like, you reach out to us if you get stuck and we're happy to help, but it's not like sending stalky emails.
Yeah.
Because I find that really annoying. So
It is frustrating.
We thought, let's build something that we would actually want.
Yeah.
And you don't have to put in anything. You just keep it. You can choose to opt out of any communication.
Yeah.
But you still get all of that support, which I reckon is really, really useful. And it's something you can communicate as well to other people in the business, because there might be people outside of like dealing with the people and the HR side of it that don't get it. And then when they see the red, they won't always read the detail of it, but they'll see the red and go, oh, that's not good. Let's do something about it. And particularly if it's red and it's compliance and you're not doing it, just do it.
Yeah, exactly.
Because and there's steps you can just make that happen. Because then again, that's all the learnings we're having as we go along. We're plugging it into that. So you got these lunch and learns, as well as that tool that's really, really helpful. So I'd encourage you to look at it. We're even evolving. We evolve that as we go. So we're open to feedback to improve that.
We're even looking at creating intricate health checks for particular industries at the moment. So we're creating one for architectural industries at the moment. We've got a few clients within that space, but we're going to evolve that and create questions, for particular industries that relate to the obvious gaps within their businesses. It might relate to an award or just something that is always highlighted to us when we're supporting different businesses. Okay, we're going to create one for X industry, for example. What's an obvious thing that we need to know when we're digging into an audit or when we're starting off with them on top of the generic stuff? We'll be evolving that as well, which is really great. Really exciting. Yeah.
We're always looking to innovate. It's probably the key. It's part of our values is, when we sat down and created our values, it was, time, care, and improve. We're always looking to improve our systems and our processes and make it easier for people. Like, you think of why, I always think of the why. Why get all this sorted? Because it allows the business owner, the managing director, to get back to the reason why they set up their business in the first place.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's not swimming around in award stuff.
Yeah.
You're not necessarily going to grow your business because of that. You're not going to change your industry and your market and stuff like that. But it's getting it all covered so that there's a great foundation to then scale the business.
Yeah.
And getting free of that uncertainty and confusion to then put the energy into growing the business and supporting people, coaching people, developing people.
Just making it as streamlined as possible. And something that actually just popped into my head. One of our team members, Jade, just recently, I'm not going to make you go on the camera, but she's highlighted that HR just naturally has a perception to be negative. all about, the fun police, firing people, dealing with people that might be misbehaving, or, yes, all the technical stuff is really important, but the value of what we do is just making it as fun and as positive as possible. So we're here for the good stuff, but then also the things where we need to get into the gritty of, okay, you've got some people issues, let's deal with it.
Yeah.
And there can be some really hairy circumstances that we need to deal with. And I'm sure all of you have too as well. But there's a lot of positive cultural elements of HR that unfortunately a lot of industries have this perception. And we really want to change that with everything that we're doing. So
it shouldn't be
a negative thing.
HR, and I can say this because I'm the president of the Melbourne HR Network, and they're all lovely people, and I'm putting myself in that community. But HR people can be risk adverse and can default to no.
Yeah.
No, don't do that, don't do that, don't do that. We always think, well, maybe. Is there a way to do it? But we accept there is a level of risk. Yeah. And we accept there might be some risk, but we're still going to enjoy the work we do. We're still going to have social events. It's all that stuff that I think the joy has been squeezed out a little bit out of fear.
All this compliance and legislation.
Get a bit too strong with that stuff.
Yeah.
But it's about how do we find that balance point, and that's what we try and do, and hopefully that we do it in a different way about making it not the fun police.
Yeah, exactly.
The other one, we don't have a lot more time. I've only got a few minutes, but one thing I'd love to do, and feel free to post. Sorry, there's a question. What was the question?
Okay, so what have we got? Gabby. So, hi, I was speaking to another HR person in our industry, and they have an app that all staff have access to, where they have access to a confidential support network 24/7 about personal work-life problems, not technically work-related, but a service provided by the workplace. Is this something your HR might look into in the future?
Yeah, there's a whole conversation we could have about EAP.
Yeah.
My preference is if someone's going through, and we learned a lot during COVID, so if someone's presenting with a mental health concern, my recommendation is they go to their treating doctor and they get proper support from a psychologist who's referred by their doctor.
And we're not psychologists.
We're not psychologists.
No.
And these in-between solutions, I'm not exactly sure what that one is. I would say get direct medical support from medical professionals.
Yeah.
Because mental health to me is not something that is treated lightly. And we're
you don't want to second guess that stuff.
Mental health first aiders, and we go back to your doctor, and there are options through Medicare to get that.
Yeah, it's just about finding that sweet spot and going, okay, is this work-related, is it not work-related, and guiding them to the best support. That's all you really can do from an employment perspective.
And people like an EAP support, it's through the business, and with a psychologist, they're more likely to just download because it's connected to their doctor and separate to the business. If it's through the business, they're not always going to open up, even unconsciously open up completely as well.
Yeah.
So it's a really interesting one, and that comes up a lot. What we'd love to, just in terms of wrapping it up, love to get people's thoughts on other topics. We intentionally made this a generic ask us any question because we wanted to dig in and see what
into
comes
the basics.
up.
Yeah.
But we'd love to get a topic and go, the next one, let's drill down on it. And some things could be, for example, probationary periods. Like, what does it mean to have a probationary period? What is it and what isn't? And it's such a simple thing to say, but it really depends on a whole range of things and how to manage people through the probationary period.
Yeah.
Maybe put some ideas on the chat, reach out to Celine and I. We'll be planning our next one in the next few weeks.
Yeah.
We'd love to be influenced by the group today to say, could you do one on this subject? Because it's not just us dreaming up what we think is important. It's actually coming from the
audience,
from the Lunch and Learn group.
Absolutely.
And we can dig in and hone in on that, and we can just spend more time on a particular topic.
Yeah.
Which might be more.
And we'll probably have one more. We'll probably have one more of these sessions before Christmas.
Yeah.
So it would be good to just nail down on a particular topic, and then maybe we can get into preparing for Christmas functions
Yeah,
and what
that
that
could
looks
be-
like and all that as
We
well.
might do one in early December around the
yeah.
Christmas, because that's a busy time of year for
Yeah.
us.
I'm just mindful of time though.
So, yep, we've hit right on. We're just, careful of everyone's time. So thank you, everyone, for turning up today and for all of the questions. We really appreciate you being with us on this journey. This is our second time doing this, and we'd love to get your feedback in terms of what's useful and what's not. We're always looking to improve what we do. This will be recorded. This has been recorded, and we're going to put it out to people who can't make it during this particular time. And if you've got any concerns with that, let us know.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you want to stick around, if you've got any questions to talk to us about, please do so. But thank you so much. And so nice to see familiar faces again as well.
We'll close off, but feel free to stick around, and we're happy to dig into any specific curly questions that need a bit more homework. But thank you, everyone, for turning up, and enjoy the rest of your day.